but we can never put on the same shoes. I've been giving L's like I know love and I can't lose. For myself, man, I can't lose. For my family, man, I can't lose. I grind hard and I can't lose. I'm stacking days, man, I can't lose. Big step, but we can never put on the same shoes. I've been giving L's like I know love and I can't lose. For myself, man, I can't lose. For my family, man, I can't lose. I grind hard, man, I can't lose. I'm stacking days, man, I can't lose. Business is business, yeah. I grind for the check. Line up with me, you gon' see how.
All right, welcome in to today's LSU Fall Camp report. We were all three out there today. We got Lloyd behind the keys. I am Noah Tingle, and I got Christian here to my left. Yep, good day out of practice today. Wasn't too hot. Weather was great. Best weather day so far for LSU Fall Camp. Brian Kelly is currently speaking with the media, doing a press conference. So we're going to try to stay updated with that and report on that as well as we recap today's practice.
Talking about practice.
It was a good day out there.
Talking about practice, y'all.
Practice.
Yeah, I did. You were
not a game.
Not a game. But we will be talking about a game next week.
We will be.
But you were, I guess, right to point out. What I said about practice was it felt like the energy was a little low today, which it could be dog days of summer. This is their final practice until they have an actual, probably a little bit more fanfare with the scrimmage inside Tiger Stadium. You'll probably see a little bit more juice. But you were saying, and I agree with you, you don't always have to be jumping around and hooting and hollering to be able to get an efficient practice done, which it did feel like they practiced today. But it did feel like the energy level was a little bit lower. But there were some pops out there where you saw when Nussmeier who had a great day lining it up offensively, and you saw some turnovers on the defense where there were some big pops over there. So the boys are still locked in.
No, definitely. It there was an intensity today that we hadn't seen yet at LSU's fall camp practices, because we've seen them bounce around, jump around, scream, yell, really bring the energy. But you could feel game week getting closer today when you were out there on the practice field. There was an interesting just vibe. They're really locked in. You could feel it from the coaches. I think the intensity was the highest from coaches like Bo Davis and Kevin Peoples, who have been intense throughout fall camp. Yes. They're very old school, very loud. You're going to hear them. But there was an intensity from both of them today. That's good to see, because that's two groups of players, position group, that you need to see perform when you talk about the defensive line with the edge rushers and the defensive tackles. So they definitely brought the intensity today. I think Bo Davis was the most intense coach, player, person out there on the practice field.
I think he'll win that award pretty much every day.
I agree. He has been pretty fun to watch throughout fall camp when it comes to just his way of coaching, his manner of coaching is just really fun.
What do you say about Deshaun Womack?
I'm not gonna. It was Don McKinley. I'm not gonna quote him.
I will. He said, "Don McKinley, you're giving me an erection," because that's how good he was playing and how good the reps were.
That's not verbatim, but it was very similar to that. It was very similar to that. He was very happy with the rep that Don McKinley had in one of the drills.
Yeah, early on in practice, we saw a secondary. Looked like it was kind of a scout team early on. Noah, you were at the offense still. This was the first couple plays of practice.
Yeah.
And Major Burns absolutely cussed out Ashton Stamps. I think it was three other media members by me, and Major Burns got on Ashton Stamps real quick for not shedding a block or not hitting the rep with enough intensity. But he jumped on him quickly, and you could hear it. So. Yeah,
and like we said when we were talking, I guess that was yesterday or the day before, one of the 30-30-30 segments at the end of the show with Jordy, we were talking about Major Burns, and Stewie was talking about seeing if McBride or Kylan Jackson or Toviano or Jawan Johnson, whoever one of those safeties comes in and takes his spot. And we were talking about what was separating him from those guys is exactly what Christian's talking about, that leadership, the mental aspect of the game. That's one of the big reasons why Major Burns is out there. He's another guy that's been in the program for a while, another one of those green dot guys we were talking about. Brian Kelly was talking about not giving Penn the green dot because he essentially already knows everything that needs to be happening. Major Burns is another one of those guys, and that's why he's on the first team, along with his ability to make plays. We saw him with a pass breakup later on in practice today. But what we're going to address first is some injuries.
Yes.
Today was the most, surprising day on that front. We've heard about Hilton's injury. He was not there. Kyle Parker stepped in his place and had an outstanding day. We'll get to that more later. Sage Ryan was in tennis shoes. J.K. Johnson slid in at his spot with the first team at corner. West Weeks was in a walking boot. He was replaced by Devon Keys and with the second group linebackers. And then Miles Frazier, the starting guard, was also in a boot, and he was replaced by Tyree Adams, which we've seen Tyree get a lot of run at guard through the last couple of practices. You saw that really come into fruition today as he needed to step in, with the first group. So
certainly looks the part.
Yes.
He is a mountain of a man, and it's somebody that if you did look at the offensive line, you were trying to pick out 5, Tyree Adams would be quick off the list if you were just going based off stature and size and build for the position.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think he's a guy that you expect. I think he was one of the top linemen in Louisiana coming out of St. Aug, if I remember correctly. And so he's a guy that Brad Davis is going to expect to step up, obviously, in the future. But today, he had to slide in with the ones, and we'll see what those injuries end up, being. I'm gonna keep refreshing and see what Brian Kelly has to say. He did say 3 or 4 guys are dealing with the bumps and bruises of camp, but we expect them back this week. So obviously we'll keep our eyes on that when we go back out there Saturday for, I assume, the scrimmage day. The last practice we'll get to see. We'll see which one of these injuries are able to be shook off and they'll get back to the field. But the first team lines, the first team defensive line was Savion Jones, Jacobian Guillory, Gio Paez, and Braden Swinson. As anyone would expect, that's been the line throughout camp. The offensive line with the injury to Frazier was Will Campbell, Garrett Dellinger, DJ Chester at center with Tyree Adams at guard, and Emory Jones at tackle. A good day from the offensive line. They obviously have been solid throughout camp, and they're going to be the strength of this team. One thing that Brian Kelly knows, when he was asked about Harold Perkins in the press conference today, he said, we're having a hard time blocking him, and we have a very good offensive line. So that's obviously good news when it comes to wanting to see Harold Perkins rush the quarterback. I think we're going to get to see that a little bit more this season. And if he's having success against these 5 guys on the LSU offensive line, nobody in the country is going to be able to stop number 4, which is very exciting. The second team defensive line was Paris Shand, Ahmad Bro, JVR Suggs, and Deshaun Womack. Good to see Ahmad Bro getting in the mix there. I think he's definitely going to have a role on this team. A little surprising that he's getting the nod there over a guy like, Don McKinley, Jalen Lee, some of these other guys in that defensive tackle group, which is good to see. That means he's performing, because we know Brian Kelly and this staff aren't going to give a spot to a freshman, a young guy, if they have not earned it,
Brian Kelly spoke today when he was talking to the media. He actually mentioned defensive tackles and some of the linebacking room. He said, we expect to play 5 or 6 defensive tackles, 4 or 5 linebackers, and up to 5 edge rushers this season. So while there was concern about the quality of player, maybe the depth is there, and when you combine depth with the coaching staff that you have, you're going to see an uptick in performance. You mentioned Harold Perkins. I have a question for you, sir.
Okay.
2022, 69 tackles, 7.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 1 pick. 2023, 70 total tackles, 5.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 1 interception. What do you think those numbers will be this year, and what is considered? What would you consider successful, or something that's like you saw an uptick in performance?
I definitely think that total tackle number is going to go up from what I've seen throughout camp. Now, I don't think he's going to be a
100
a 100 tackle guy, just because that defense is flying around, so tackles are going to get shared. But I think if he gets high 80s, between 80 and 90 when it comes to total tackles, I want to see that sack number back around 7, 8, 9. That number. Interceptions I don't particularly care about. Now, if he comes away with 3 or 4, I think that's a win, and I think that's possible. But I just really want to see less statistically, but more just like the mindset. Even if he's not making the sack, letting him rush the quarterback
influence
and
the game,
creating havoc. But I definitely think that total tackle number and the sack number should both raise almost significantly.
If you're okay with the interception staying around 1 or 2, then that's where you would need to see the output of the sacks go higher, because you have to be doing something.
I agree.
And whether Perks played in the middle or comes off the edge, I think that's what people are trying to kind of want to see more of is how are you going to put him in a position to impact the game, because you've seen him do it whenever he really wasn't given a lot of tools in the tool chest to be able to run a defense. It was go play football. And now you have Blake Baker, who, as we all know, primarily works with linebackers. You would expect to see, I think Greg Penn's going to have a massive year too.
I agree.
But I think Harold Perkins, if you can have like Greg Penn be that guy in the middle and let Harold kind of, whether he's coming off the edge or he's in coverage, like do one of those two things. But I don't want to see what you saw against Florida State, where it was a lot of standing. It looked like he was standing in the middle of the road in one-way traffic, going, "Oh God, everything's going by real quick."
I agree. I think if he gets that total tackle number up to 90, maybe 20 of those tackles for loss. Whether it's a mix of sacks and blowing up passes, screen plays, running backs, stuff like that. I think that's a win.
Yeah, Harold will for sure have his set position, but I think he'll be Blake Baker's favorite toy. I mean, he'll be all around the field, whether it's rushing the quarterback, dropping in the zone, hitting a man on a running back, quarterback spy. He'll be Blake Baker's favorite toy for sure.
I agree. I mean, you're going to see a match made in heaven between Blake Baker and Harold Perkins this season. So I'm excited to see what it looks like. Regardless of what the stats end up being, it's going to look much better than what we saw last year with Perk. So it's going to be really, really cool to see what Baker has Perk doing out there. Another little bit of movement when it comes to lineups. Throughout camp, the backup at the star position has been Juwan Johnson behind Major Burns. Today, it was Javian Toviano, which we've talked about. We love Toviano at the star spot because of his ability to be physical. He is fearless when it comes to his physicality. You saw him go head up with Jalen Milroe up the sideline last year. That's one play I can vividly remember. Now, he did end up on his back, but if you're a true freshman and you're willing to go into Tuscaloosa and take on a guy that looks like Milroe, 1v1 head up on the sideline, I want you on my football team. And we'll see how he ends up shaking up at the star position, but I think that's a good move there for LSU. And it means that he's developing, getting back on the field, and taking the spot from the younger guy, Juwan Johnson, who had that spot throughout camp.
It still is interesting to me. I don't know if they're bringing Toviano along slowly or pivoting and putting him in a new position to where he can get on the – because I feel Major Burns is going to play primarily that star position and not come off the field a lot. If you're still running out there with Sage Ryan, who wasn't in today, obviously he was sidelined. He was just in tennis shoes and like he was dressed out but no cleats. Obviously not a participant. But if that continues to be your fallback plan to put Sage at corner, you saw Toviano play corner last year. I'm surprised he's not at least working in with that group at all.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a surprise. And who knows what is going on when we're not there.
Right.
Because that's the thing that we kind of have to remember sometimes. I know I have to remind myself when I'm
not seeing the entire practice,
trying to assume what's going to happen on September 1st. I don't get to see what all's going on out there. We leave, and who knows what happens. Who knows what's going on Monday and Tuesday and tomorrow and Friday before we get to Saturday when we're back out there again. It's it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the defensive back room shakes out when it comes to this season. But I definitely think there's an opportunity for Toviano to get some work, whether it's that star spot, helping out Major, or if he gets a look at corner as well. We did also get to see some punt today.
Woo!
Which, everybody's eyes were locked in when it comes to punt. whether it's the punt returner or who's actually kicking the ball, who's blocking, what's happening. It's probably the most stressful point of practice throughout fall camp.
And I think that's not even just from the media side. I feel like it's from like everybody kind of like they're waiting for something to happen.
100%. I think, and it's interesting because almost every single assistant coach on staff is involved paying attention to what's going on punt. You see Brad Davis with the O-lineman, Bob Diaco's out there, Slade Nagel's out there. Really, Joe Sloan's the only one that's not.
Yeah, Baker's on that side of the football too.
Like everybody is involved in this process because, once again, you can't screw it up 3 years in a row. Like you have to make an adjustment. You have to get it fixed, and they know that. Now today wasn't exactly reassuring when it comes to getting that fix, because there was still a lot of inconsistencies from Peyton Todd and Oschendorf. You didn't see the consistency that Brian Kelly is asking for from that position. They both had good punts here and there, but you don't want a great punt 1 out of 4 times. You want it 3 out of 4 times. You want a little more consistency than what LSU is seeing out there from both of those guys. However, what I assume is a walk-on punter in Badger Hargett out of, I think it was Ascension Christian or Catholic, one of those Ascension schools. He was the most consistent punter out there today. Now, I don't know if he's truly in the mix, but if right now where you're at with punter, you might as well give everybody an opportunity.
Well, this is the first time we've seen him get serious run at punter. It was just the other two. It was Oschendorf and it was Peyton Todd. And now you've seen Badger Hargett get some like serious consideration for at least reps whenever he's punting. It used to be a 2-man rotation. He's being utilized as you're getting a look, kid.
Yeah, and
former freshman walk-on, redshirt freshman.
And this is the second practice in a row that I've noticed Badger play well and punt well. I don't know what the issue is with him, and this is like he's just now getting in. But I mean, I think he could really insert his name in there.
Yeah.
Well, you brought in. I think it's because you brought in a punter from Louisiana Tech who's done it before, who has accolades in that conference, and then you have Peyton Todd, who's been with LSU for going on 4 years now. You would expect
you've got more stock in those two guys than you do in Badger, so you want to see those guys work before you give the other guy an opportunity. You know,
right? You would hope that the talent would win out at some point. Where if because what they've been preaching is consistency. Whenever they hit a ball, they haven't been great. Right. But if they catch one, you can see that they're SEC punters. Like this is the position that they play. Yeah. But in terms of consistency, if that's what he's looking for, Badger was probably your best guy, at least today.
At least today. I think Oschendorf throughout camp has been the most consistent. But honestly, if I was going to tell you who's punting on September 1st,
I'd be lying.
I have no idea. I have absolutely. You could pull the name out of a hat, and you might be right.
And I was listening to Handy on the way over here, and he went to the practice on Saturday and said it was much of the same, where he was starting to crunch the numbers of analytics and when you should actually go for it on 4th down, which is where a lot of people have kind of settled in.
Yeah.
But for Badger, ranked as the nation's number 5 prep punter as a senior in high school by the Coles Kicking Camp. They do all of the rankings for kickers and punters, so it's like a different rating scale than your usual. It's like a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star deal. They just rank them 1 through 100. So he's the number 5 prep punter coming out of high school, 2A first-team All-State, all Acadiana honors, 3-time first-team All-District. So it's not like he's just a guy.
Yeah, I mean,
he was obviously very skilled in high school, but he
didn't hold punter tryouts in the quad.
Right, but he doesn't. The other two look more of the part. He's 5'8", 190.
Yeah,
and you can see that he got that walk-on build.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was and like Stephen Miller says, he said we could very likely see both of them used punting, which if it works, it works. I hope they can figure something out. But it's just I'm not going to have any confidence if LSU's plan is to use 2 punters. How would I find any confidence in that situation? Because you've had Todd in the program for how many years? What, 3, 4? This is his 4th year, whatever. And he was a very highly ranked punter coming out of high school. I think he might have been the number 1 punter in the country. Mm-hmm. And he has not panned out. You brought Bramblett in with Brian Kelly, and obviously he was great when he was actually needed. But but you need him to pan out because if he doesn't, that's an absolute whiff. And obviously there was concerns because they went and brought Oceandorf in from Louisiana Tech, who was Conference USA Punter of the Year, I think, something like that. He had some honors coming in from Tech, and so
first team all conference USA.
First team off conference, okay. So yeah, it's not the most reassuring thing, but I also agree with Stephen Miller-Hill here. If we lose due to punting situations, the team has much bigger issues, which is true. That's very true.
I'll push back on that just a little bit because of how much special teams can influence a football game.
Right.
Like if you're not able to consistently look how much we watched it on Hard Knocks last night, how much having an absolute weapon back there makes a difference, but it can also be detrimental. If you're talking about having two punters, you definitely don't have one, and doesn't feel like it's a scenario in which this guy's better at the short game, the other one is for the longer punts. You're really rolling the dice to see which one you feel better about going into the game, and it's the reason you would see two in my mind is if the first punt of whoever they put out there doesn't go great, then it's like, all right, put out the next guy. That's not necessarily a battle of competition. That's a war of attrition.
Yeah, which and that adds a whole nother level of stress to the punters, but as well the staff. Like if the punter is going out there, standing on that island, waiting for the snap, and thinking, if I shank this, I'm getting benched. Out. It could really put LSU in a tough spot. And I do agree that there will be bigger. That obviously means there's bigger issues than just not having a punter. And I think that issue is not having just like Jordy has said the past 2 weeks, not having a sole special teams coach. Like somebody that's their only job is to get that part of the game right.
Yeah, it feels like that's Diaco's role now, where he kind of was but obviously he was thrust into service to be the defensive line coach last year, and it was, kind of three people running around trying to make sure they had a body over there. Diaco has reverted back to being an assistant in that capacity, but I don't know if he's actually named the full-time special teams coach. That's just, it feels like if it happens for a third year in a row, it's a massive oversight and something that could easily have been fixed, and you decided to ignore it once again. Yeah,
no, I agree. And when it comes to the issues LSU's had on special teams the last 2 seasons, you saw that today at practice. I talked about it this morning. We've talked about it the last couple of times we've done this recap. Xavier Thomas has looked like the guy at punt returner because of his experience and ability, but today he had 2 muffs back-to-back at practice, which obviously we don't want to overdo it and look too deep into it and freak out and say LSU's cooked, they've got no opportunity, they have no punt returner, it's over. But it's definitely not reassuring seeing muffs in general because of the PTSD that comes from the last 2 Florida State games. And now he got it together. He caught the next 3 or 4 punts, whatever, and didn't have too many issues. But seeing the first muff, and then for him to kind of what looked like he was in his head a little bit about it and muff the second one. Now, he was called over by Cortez Hankton, and they got it put together. But he did muff 2 punts. They put Javen Nicholas back there as well at punt returner. That was the first day that I saw him back there. They might have had him there before.
They've had him back there a few times and on kickoff as well.
Yeah, he's definitely involved on kickoff. But, yeah, Nicholas was back there as punt returner. And Kyle Parker also today – he is now the only punt returner out of those 3 main guys, Anderson, Thomas, and Parker, to not muff a punt. He looked pretty sure-handed today, and he had a little bit of wiggle to him as well when he caught a few of those and was slipping up, through some of the holes in the coverage. So punt wasn't the punt section of today's practice wasn't exactly the most confidence-inducing section. But we'll see what it looks like on Saturday, and hopefully we have, some more good news to kind of reassure everybody because we'd like to be reassured ourselves in that position. One position where there's a lot of conversation is the quarterback spot. Again, obviously Garrett Nussmeier's quarterback 1. There is still a battle for the backup quarterback position between A.J. Swan and Ricky Collins, and I honestly couldn't tell you who has the leg up because neither of them has been particularly eye-popping or stood out or, anything. But, I mean, they're both good, skilled quarterbacks. Brian Kelly talked about it today. He said, this week has been very competitive with Ricky, AJ, and Colin, and says that the battle for number – and that's what he says of the battle for the backup quarterback, and he feels much better about where they are with that role. And what I am going to go out on a limb and say is I think Colin Hurley might be the second best quarterback when it comes to skill on this LSU football roster.
Second best, but I mean he is a freshman.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm saying second best when it comes to a skill standpoint.
Right.
I'm not saying he's not going to be the backup quarterback. No. I think if you see Nussmeier go down in a game, it's going to be Ricky or AJ. I would go to say probably AJ in that situation because of
the experience.
His experience. He's been an SEC quarterback, and he's probably more trusted in that role. But when it comes to the throwing of the football and the ability to put it in certain spots, Colin Hurley is impressive.
Yes.
Me and Lloyd were kind of sitting on the bleachers watching. He was the scout team quarterback today. He was in a number 7 jersey representing Miller Moss, obviously, going against the first team defense. And when that ball leaves his hands, it's just kind of that.
It's special. Yeah.
You just kind of sit back.
He can throw it.
Me and Lloyd are sitting next to each other. We're like bumping each other after he. I mean, even if they didn't catch the ball, it was nice to see that ball spin.
Yes. He's got some rotation and some pronation on that thing.
Definitely.
But to your point, like when you do see Colin Hurley come out there, it does look different. It feels different than when you have AJ Swan. Like he even takes more chances because he trusts his arm so much and his ability to kind of fit into tighter spots. AJ Swan, it's a lot of look, check down, and I'm sure they want Colin Hurley to kind of challenge the defense a little bit, especially now going into USC and being that Miller Moss type, I guess, player that you're trying to comp against. But when you see Hurley throw it, I can see why people would be excited, and he's supposed to be a senior in high school this year.
Just looks natural.
Yeah. He's a gifted thrower of the football.
There was a piece of content that came out from LSU, I think earlier this week or this past weekend, where you saw Trey Green go up and get a ball. It looked like in the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
And if you look closely at who was throwing that football, it was not Garrett Nussmeier, it wasn't AJ Swan, it wasn't Ricky Collins, it was Colin Hurley. And it was a perfectly placed ball. As impressive of a catch as it was from Trey Green, who should not be understated as a heck of a receiver, as a tight end and as a red zone threat, but that throw from Colin Hurley was put in a spot where only Trey Green could catch it, and it was a beautiful ball. And so he has a lot of skill when it comes to playing the quarterback position with his arm. Almost similarly to how we spoke about Garrett Nussmeier when he came out as a freshman. He doesn't quite have the arm strength I think that Nussmeier had, or the gunslinger, ideology floating around him like Nussmeier has had. But when Nussmeier got here as a freshman, we were looking at him throw the football, and we were like, he can spin
natural.
It. Right. And so Colin Hurley is very much a natural thrower of the football. And so the quarterback room is in a good spot. Whether or not, obviously you don't want Garrett Nussmeier to get hurt, and I think LSU would be in a tough spot at the quarterback spot if Nussmeier went down, because the level of play does drop down pretty significantly from first-team quarterback to second-team quarterback.
Yeah, I could say you can go ahead and toss this season in the trash if Nussmeier goes down. It's not going to – well, your expectations for the season, you're not looking at a 10-11 playoff team. You would be – let's get to 8 wins.
Yeah.
Because that's just the drop-off of what it is, because Ricky's only been here a year. He's a redshirt freshman. A.J. Swan's done it in the SEC, but not to a level where you can go pluck a starting quarterback from – a football. Like Vanderbilt would have fought a little bit harder if they thought that he was the answer.
Right.
So,
I agree.
It's not any shocking news to say that Garrett Nussmeier is kind of the engine of this whole football thing.
100%. And I think, and it's not all that drop off from quarterback 1 to 2 and 3 isn't all because of how bad they are, but how good Nussmeier's looked throughout camp. I mean, today
he had one of his better days.
Yeah, he looked outstanding. Like, it was very hard to not get excited about September 1st seeing the way Garrett Nussmeier looked today. I mean, he's got arm strength. He can put the ball wherever on the field, whether it needs to be a 60-yard throw or a dump off. But what really was impressive today, and Lloyd alluded to it when we were out there, was he was layering the football so well, which is something that you want to see because that's another part of the next step for him as a starting quarterback. We know he can rip one through 2 defenders and thread the needle at 100 miles per hour, or he can let one loose down the field.
The deep ball is not a question.
Right, but the layering of the football on these crossing routes across the field or up the sideline or whatever. I mean, he had one throw down the sideline to C.J. Daniels over J.K. Johnson, who was in relatively good coverage. But it was a perfectly placed football.
Yeah, if he doesn't throw it where he put it, that's not a good throw.
Right.
Like you had to squeeze it between 2 defenders. He drops it in the bucket, and if you're looking and you're just watching, like, he's not open.
Yeah.
But the way that Nussmeier fit it in, you're like, oh, if you put it there, he is.
Yeah.
And those are the throws that can take this team from good to great to this offense might be elite again.
100%.
Because that's the hardest part of the quarterback position in my mind is, sure, you can throw it 55 yards down the sideline. You've seen you do it. Like, the throw to Jack Besh is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, and we've seen you be able to, like you said, fit it between 2 defenders, whether you like it or not. He's got belief in that arm strength and his ability to put it in a window. But these are the next level throws where it makes your offense hum, where you can run a lot of crossing routes and you have faith that, okay, I'm throwing it to a spot, not to a player.
Right.
And those are the throws that make your offense 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, where you don't know what they're running because now the whole field's still open.
No, I agree. You have seen the growth in Garrett Nussmeier this fall. And then on top of that, when it comes to the wide receiver position, Kyron Lacey, the last 2 seasons has had an issue with drops, just blatant hit his hands and he dropped it. His hands have been very impressive throughout. You saw, and Christian pointed it out today, you saw a lot of comeback routes and curl routes with the receivers, and you've seen that throughout camp. But we saw, I think, 3 in a row in like the 11-on-11 or 7-on-7 section. I mean, Nussmeier is putting that football on
you.
Like, you're turning around and the football is here. Like, it's not like you're turning around and waiting on it. I mean, that football is coming at you about 90 miles per hour. And there was one that was a little high, and Lacey turned around and just plucked it out of the air.
Catch.
And his hands have been impressive, which is good to see because he can break tackles when he gets the ball in his hands. He can jump. He can break away. But you got to see it. You got to catch the football first.
It's the catches in traffic. It's the ones where you like squeeze it here on, like you said, on the comeback route, where even if it's not challenged, where like strong hands through the catch.
Right.
And you can see that's been an emphasis for him basically the entire practice schedule, where you can see him focus on, I'm looking this thing in, and to speak on the wide receiver room, no Chris Hilton today.
Yes.
But I thought Kyle Parker did took advantage of that moment. He was waiting to be able to get some run, and Kyle Parker took full advantage of Christian Hilton out there. No Chris Hilton out there.
Yeah, no. I mean, Kyle Parker popped today. Like, everybody was kind of locked in on 12. In the 11-on-11 section, there was a drive. I think they got to 3rd down. There was a little bit of pressure on the quarterback. Nuss stepped up, put one on Parker across the middle of the field to get the 1st down. Followed that up with a long Josh Williams run to get them into plus territory, and then the defense kind of stepped up right after that and responded a little bit. You saw another dump off to somebody. I think it was a running back out of the backfield, maybe Jackson or Williams, and then a stuff on 3rd and 2. You saw the defense step up and stuff the running play.
I think it was John Emery. Both of those plays. And
then right after that, it looked like there was a timeout or something was called, and you saw the offense split up, and they came back out, and it looked like a little bench concept kind of on the right side of the field where you saw C.J. Daniels run an out route, and Kyle Parker, the
corner on Kyle Parker was left on an island, hit the corner out, wide open back of the end zone, big play, 4th and 2. So I thought that was a pretty good moment from practice, and it kind of summed up Kyle Parker's day today.
Yeah, no, Kyle Parker looked great today, whether it was at wide receiver or at punt returner. He was sure-handed, and he was making plays. And so, this is what we were talking about when it comes to Chris Hilton and and the injuries is when you miss time, especially in this wide receiver room, you can lose that spot. Like there are young, hungry guys waiting for that spot. And not only are they young and hungry, they're very good at football. So, like, guys like Shelton Sampson, I think Aaron Anderson also had a outstanding day today. When he get put in man coverage, when someone's guarding him in man coverage, it's probably impossible for them to stick with him. Like he had a few routes that were kind of crossing type routes, first team and second team defense, and nobody was sticking with him. So that's two guys that aren't in that first three wide receiver group that kind of stepped up when the opportunity was available today. And that's why, for Chris Hilton, it's tough for him to miss time because there's guys waiting and ready. And you saw that today, especially with Kyle Parker and Aaron Anderson.
And even if Aaron Anderson doesn't crack into the quote-unquote like top three wide receivers, they have an absolute plan to get him the football. He's going to play a lot of snaps where he might not be a quote, like I said, a starter, but they have packages for him, and that you saw some of that today, whether it be tunnel screens or just getting him in motion, getting him the football as fast as you can, and letting him do kind of what he does that makes him special. But if he's able to get on the same page with Nussmeier and some of these option and choice routes where if he's going across, like if he's running mesh or whatever all the way across the field where he can find space and kind of sit down, if they can get on the same page with that, that's where he's impossible to guard because you lose him.
I noticed today, Aaron Anderson, a lot of the routes he was getting hit on was either like a 10, 15 yard, either crossing route on the sideline, or he'd be lined up in the slot and he'd hit an out route on like a 10, 15 yard out route. And I mean, whoever was throwing him the ball, it was usually Nussmeier, but Nussmeier would float it in there, Aaron just bring it in over the shoulder. I mean, it looked pretty good. I think that could be something you could watch out for in the season too.
Yeah, because so much is made of his speed, but you forget like the technical part of the game that he has. He's skilled.
He's developed.
And you saw like a lot of what Christian was just talking about, where they were throwing him balls that weren't necessarily easy to catch, and he made adjustments and made it look extremely easy.
Yeah,
not really rack catches, more of like keep your
these
feet
are
in
possession
bounds,
catches.
Catch the ball, right?
And he's had a good camp, and like Lloyd said, you're going to see this wide receiver group get mixed around. It's not going to be, probably Kyron Lacey and C.J. Daniels will be on the field majority of possessions, but after that, it could be any group of guys. You could go 4 wide receivers, and it could be Shelton Sampson and Xavion Thomas out there, or Kyle Parker and Aaron Anderson, or whoever. Like it is a really good group of guys that are going to be mixed around. Very often do you hear, they're just yelling out the numbers when they're doing subs. So you hear 12-1 or 2-4-3, 2-4-12. Like they're calling them out, and very rarely do you hear 2 and 4 not get called, at least one of them. But there's a good group of wide receivers that you're going to get to see a lot of them, especially if LSU is able to create some separation in these games where they can give more guys opportunities. It's exciting to see how that room's going to develop. But continuing on in the 11-on-11 section, you saw Zy Alexander back out there with the second-team defense. As J.K. got bumped up with no Sage Ryan today, Zy Alexander was with the second team, and he picked off Ricky Collins in that 11-on-11 section, which was good to see because Zy Alexander was arguably LSU's best defensive back last year, especially cornerback. Obviously he's coming off the ACL injury, but for him to be mixed around in that group, that adds to the depth, adds to the experience aspect of it. But he's also a good DB, and LSU's going to, like Brian Kelly said, and like Lloyd said earlier, they're going to use not just this first group of guys. They need the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s to be ready to go. And especially the 1s and 2s, they're going to be used to help lead LSU where they want to go. You also saw another interception where C.J. Daniels kind of bobbled the pass from Nussmeier, and P.J. Woodland was there to clean it up, who has had a pretty good last 2 weeks of camp. P.J. Woodland has. And you can see earlier on in camp, Corey Raymond he's pretty rough on all the guys, but when he sees the potential in a specific guy, he's a bit
more focused.
The margin for success is a little bit tighter for those guys. And P.J. Woodland has been that guy. Corey Raymond is constantly in his ear, whether it's good or bad. Keeping a close eye on them.
Yeah.
And what that means is P.J. Woodland's a good football player, and Corey Raymond wants him to get on the football field. So the opportunity's there, and they're going to need every single one of those guys in the DB room to really get them to where they want to go.
Yeah, to your point, P.J. Woodland early in spring, was getting fussed at every practice. It felt like P.J. was that guy getting called out every practice. And he's been called out less and less since fall has started, and I barely notice him getting, called out anymore. He got called out once today, but it was like every single rep he got in spring and early in fall, it was something like PJ go run, and he go run. He could take off running. But now, you don't really see that. It's like he's flourishing. He's kind of becoming that DB that Corey wants him to be. So.
Yeah, well, and this is a Corey Raymond pet project. This is his first group of recruits that he brought in, so he knows what he wants to be able to play well in this defense. That's what P.J. Woodland fits that mold. So if he's able to get, regardless if it's a freshman or not, if he's able to get somebody out there that he thinks will help the defense, you can see that, hey, we're going to nudge you along, and we're trying to get you ready to be a starter on this defense as a freshman.
Right.
Because there's reports, I think Shea put it out, that if they can get him to step up and be that cornerback too, they'll move Sage back to safety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why I brought up the Taviano situation. I thought that was interesting. But they obviously know that Sage plays a better safety than he does corner, but he's playing corner again out of necessity. But if you're able to have – and today was a great day to showcase it for P.J. Woodland because you had Sage Ryan out. So if you're able to make that switch, it's just something that'll make your defense better.
No, 100%. And speaking of the LSU defense, before that, if y'all have any questions or comments or anything that y'all want to get in about practice today, get it in the chat. I'm going to read some of these Brian Kelly quotes about the defense. This one's on Harold Perkins. Obviously, he said, "We're having a hard time blocking him, and we've got a pretty good offensive line. He's elevating the players around him, and that's a pretty good thing for Tiger fans." And then he also noted that he wouldn't have been able to say that Perk was elevating those around him over the last 2 seasons. I couldn't say that about him in his first 2 years, but he is now entering that category of elevating those around him, which is what you want to see. Especially from the face of your defense and a guy that's as skilled as he is. If he's elevating the rest of the guys on that roster and getting more out of them, that's going to mean more success for this defense. And more success for this defense means more success for LSU as a whole, because that's what LSU needs to pick up to be able to be competitive and reach the expectations and the level that they want to reach. And so it's good to hear, and you can see it. When we're out there, you can see Harold Perkins flying around, but when he's leading like that and he's in the right spot, it makes it much easier for everybody else to be in the right spot, because he seems to be in the right spot for everybody. Like, he's not just in the right spot for Perk, he's in the right spot for Greg Penn, for Major Burns, for Sage Ryan, whoever else is out there. He's around the ball and going to make plays. Another comment Brian Kelly had about the defense is that they're showing a sense of excitement and energy on a consistent basis that might have been lacking a year ago. He said that's what you have to see just to play the kind of defense that will help you win games. And as much as that's because of the players and the guys on the field, I think the reason you're seeing that shift in the excitement from last year to this season is because of this revamped defensive staff. Blake Baker, Bo Davis, Kevin Peoples, Corey Raymond, Jake Olson, and even the support staff, the other guys that aren't name recognized, they are bringing the energy every single day. They did a drill called Half Line today, where it was just kind of quarterback, running back with the O-line, linebacker, and the D-line. And it was 2 separate groups, and Bo Davis is going back and forth between the 2 groups, either chewing somebody out, telling them good job, but he was yelling and you could hear him, and he was bringing energy. He's in like a linebacker stance behind these guys watching it. Blake Baker has brought the energy consistently. They actually, during one of the drills, were right in front of us walking up and down, and you could sense the energy that they were bringing, Raymond and Baker and Davis and Peoples. And that's the excitement that you have to see from that staff so that it can roll over to the players. Because when it rolls over to the players, more success is to be had. It creates a sense of excitement for them. And that sense of excitement and determination, if the organization aspect comes from the coaches as well, that excitement and that flying around type mentality is what's going to create the plays that they make, like the Zy Alexander interception today, like the P.J. Woodland interception today and last week, like the Kylan Jackson, pressure that created that P.J. Woodland interception. Those are the things that come from, one, being in the right place, but two, the energy and the desire that has been trickled down from these coaches to these players. Brian Kelly, another quote, he said, "I think the sum of this team will be greater than any one of its parts. We can all pull out the Harold Perkins, the Will Campbells, the Garrett Nussmeyers, the Kyron Lacey's, but there's more players that will enter into the mix than we had last year." Which that's exactly what you want to hear. And that's what we expected, but he wouldn't say that if it has not been shown to him throughout camp. Because LSU does have the top-end talent to say, these guys are really going to lead us to the promised land. Like last year with, you can look at the offense and say, Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, and just kind of put them in a circle and book it. And for him to go out and say that today is very much a confidence-building piece for a fan, because that's what you want to see. You want to see a team that's willing to play with each other, for each other, and be more than just good at one thing. And that's what that means.
Well, and when you have legitimate star power on both sides of the football, like that, it could be viewed as a detriment if you didn't know who was on the team. But since you do know that you have Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Garrett Nussmeier, Kyron Lacey, Harold Perkins on the defense, that's when you're like, okay, that means you have more than just stars. You have guys that are filling in for other roles. If you didn't have those guys and you didn't know those names, you'd be like, what does that really say about the defense? It's nobody stepping up, but it's more of you have guys that are filling in roles, and LSU will have to use it's going to be a depth type build, especially when you look at the wide receiver room. We went through that, but obviously the defense, when you look at defensive line, there's not a standout player really. They just have 5 or 6 or 7 bodies that are going to rotate in, and the fact that you trust all of them to be able to get playing time, that bodes well for what LSU's trying to do defensively.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, this, and Lloyd, I'm going to ask you this question. When is the last time, because I think the depth on this LSU team can't be understated. There is a good amount of depth at even positions where you didn't think there was, like defensive tackle. When's the last time you saw an LSU team with this level of depth? Because I don't think at the first 2 years of Brian Kelly, we haven't had. No,
that's what you were trying to build back, is because you had 40 scholarship players after the Ed O tenure. I would say probably going into 19. I mean, it's not the same amount of talent or caliber, but that's where you felt good about you're too deep. And for LSU, you finally have a full enough roster where you can look at it and go, okay, these guys can all they can get some run. I don't think and even for LSU. That 2019 defensive line, you had legitimate probably star power with Chason, Rashard Lawrence. You had guys that you knew. I don't think they're at that level, but you have enough bodies to where you can rotate people in. And I think that's why you went out and got a Suggs, a Paez that are just been Paez is already bookended as your starter. And then, but if you sprinkle in Deshaun Womack, who got some run with the ones today, that's where the real talent is.
100%
is in the young guys.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Swinson looked good today too.
100%. He's looked good throughout camp. He's going to be, like we've said, he's going to be a dog.
Yeah, I think the talent is definitely stand out, because if you look back at all the teams that have won it, I mean, it's not hard to recognize that all of these teams are at least 2 deep in almost every position. If you look at Michigan, Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, LSU, even teams that have had success in the past, they've all been depth based. I mean, they've had so many players underneath all these other positions that can play and start at other schools in Power 5 conferences.
Yeah. No, because, injuries are very much a real thing. You saw, I think Texas, their
both
top 2 running backs are
out for the year.
That can happen. We saw some injuries today. If this happens on a Friday in November, on November 8th, Tyree Adams or whoever can get flushed into the starting offensive line against Alabama. That's why you build these depth pieces, and that's why it's so important to be deep like LSU is this season. Per Brian Kelly, an update on these injuries. So Chris Hilton has a bone bruise, should be back as early as this weekend. So possibly could see him Saturday, maybe not.
I think
but
I would be shocked if he wasn't fighting to be able to get back on the field
He
because
should.
of what
happened
what
today.
you saw today. Yeah, it's like there's
100%.
people behind you that can do this.
yeah, and your spot's not solidified.
Right.
I think Kyron's and CJ's are kind of set in stone, and that's not just because
They
of
haven't
name
missed any,
recognition.
they haven't missed any time.
They haven't missed, and so for Chris, I agree with you. I would be surprised if he's not pushing to get out there Saturday. Weeks, Frazier, and Ryan, not serious. Expect to be back soon.
West.
So,
West
Weeks.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
just-
said Weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just read it like he did.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, just good qualifier though because there's two of them.
Right.
yeah. No,
It'd be the older brother.
it'll be good to see. Hopefully, them back on the field on Saturday. Obviously, because I think everyone kind of gasped when Miles Frazier was the first one to walk out with the boot on. Everybody was like, because I mean, it's not a very reassuring thing to see your starting guard or
You're a week
offensive
away.
line walk out in a boot a week away from game one. But it's good to hear that they'll all, hopefully be healthy soon and definitely should be ready for September 1st. Today was a good day of practice. I think obviously there weren't as many, jump around, exciting, like Lloyd said, loud, intense, fun times, but they're locking in like that, and that's reassuring because that's what they have to do.
And usually those moments come when the defense kind of wins the day.
Right.
And I think it is good that the offense wins the day at practice because it's harder for the offense to succeed in practice than it is for the defense.
You think
'Cause,
so?
I mean, yeah, I think so. I think whenever you see a new defense in a game, I think it's easier to do what you've been doing because I think the defense gets familiar with you in practice.
Right.
And what you run, what these wide receivers run routes on, how the run block, everything.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit easier.
It's hard to qualify winning on offense when you don't really have a run game.
Yeah.
Like what LSU is going to rely on a good bit, and you can't really quantify what that looks like because you're not tackling.
Right.
So it's like it busts through the line of scrimmage, and if they take it to the goal line, it's like where you were tackled 3 yards into the run, but you kept going, and it's like, okay, does that count for anything? It's
Right.
like you don't know.
Yeah.
But that's where I think you see the big pop plays on like 11 on 11, like for the
100%.
offense, and that's where Nussmeier had his best day of camp today because he was put in situations where he had to succeed, and he did, to make that fourth down throw, that type of thing where he has kind of looked like he was in full command of the offense today.
Yeah.
And
No,
they're
I
moving him
agree.
around a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not
A
set
little
in
wiggle.
stone. Oh yeah. A little bit of wiggle. But yeah, no, I mean, it was a good day, and it was cool to see. Obviously, and it was actually funny. I was a little confused when I first got out there, and I'm starting to video some of the first team offense versus the scout team. I completely forgot that it was scout team day and that they're now scouting for USC. And I'm looking at all these numbers on defense. I'm like,
That's
why
not
do we have a
Harold Perkins.
defensive back in 7? Harold Perkins that's not him.
That's not 4.
And I was and then I was like, oh, it's.
It was confusing.
It's scout team, but it was it was good to see some of the scout team stuff and finding success, and you can see that they're locked in on Joe Sloan actually walked over to the defense and was like, no, that guy needs to be there directing
it up. Yeah,
USC's defense.
Yeah, we're not trying to win the rep. We're trying to get a look.
And so that obviously means that they're getting prepared, and preparation is key. So. It was a good practice. Hunter Hall was a question. How much tackling is happening at these practices? Not much. There's tackling days. I think we've seen one of them. They're not tackling. Now they're getting physical on the line and blocking down the field, but they're not hitting anybody. There's been opportunities like Ashton Stamps read one of those little swing plays. I think it was to a wide receiver, maybe running back. And I mean, he could have blown it up.
Yeah, the whole defense goes, ooh.
Yeah, everyone knew it was coming.
It was a blind side. It would have been a big play.
Right.
And then you saw, I think it was Jair Brown or J.K. Johnson. I think it was Jair. Came in and got some reps at cornerback, and he actually thudded a little bit.
Yeah.
Where he met him in the hole, and they're like, okay, that's contact, boys.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been. They're not bringing anybody to the ground.
No.
Yeah.
They're not full out tackling.
Gio Paez had a play where he got off his block and probably would have stuffed Caleb Jackson for a 1 yard, no gain.
Yeah.
But it looked like a 10-yard, 15-yard gain because Caleb just kept running.
Right. Yeah.
So it is a little tough to look at it because, you don't know when the play could end.
Yeah. No. And Jacoby and Guillory actually today, he is very loud. And I think he's almost just taken after Bo Davis at this point. Like
I'm just gonna be you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do whatever you do. But he had back-to-back, got to the backfield and hit the running back TFLs. And obviously he didn't bring him down, but that's a good thing to see because I think Jock said it this morning on the show is that he's only had, 2 tackles for loss in his career at LSU. And in the first 5 minutes of us being at practice, he had 2 tackles for loss. So another thing Brian Kelly did talk about in his press conference was that I think he's got a pretty good idea on who's getting 18.
Yeah.
And I think we do too, just off of gut feeling, not any insider information. Glenn West says Brian Kelly says a decision on number 18 has been made, and an announcement will come in the next 48 hours. So go ahead in the chat, drop who you think it's going to be.
Josh Williams.
I think there's no way it's not Josh Williams.
John Emery.
No. Honestly, I kind of like John Emery.
I like
John
Emery,
Emery. That's a different way to get to 18, but he certainly got there. It's
he made
full
it
of
there.
hardship, and he's been here long enough to go from 4 to 44 to 22 to 18 would be elite.
Awesome.
But
no.
Josh Williams has absolutely earned 18, and it's everything that the number is supposed to represent, at least how we've been told the lore of the jersey. And it feels like, I don't know if Brian Kelly still does this, but I know when O was here, they have a group chat, all of the former 18s, that they get together and they lobby pretty hard for who they think should be 18. So I don't think it's actually like a coach's decision as much as it is like these guys make a choice, because I was working with Hester and that's what they do.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think Josh Williams is the pretty obvious pick. I kind of had him penciled in last year to get it. I mean, they gave it to Makai Wingo, which I'm not going to be upset about because he was very much the leader. But I definitely think that Josh Williams is kind of the shoe-in for this.
Yeah, it should be.
Now, if it's not Josh Williams,
who is it?
Who do you think?
Nussmeier.
Really? You think they go QB?
I think he's done everything that you would want. He's a team leader. He stayed through times where he could have left, and it kind of encompasses everything. It's the same thing that Josh Williams kind of did.
Right.
But it would be interesting. I don't know if they'll do it. I don't know if they, I don't want to say pressure, but he would be the first quarterback to wear 18 since Matt Mock. So that would be, that's a statement in itself.
Right.
But I think the easier and probably better way to do it.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
That's a good thought there, Lloyd.
Thank you.
Because I think Greg Penn is probably the next thought, but he actually
changed his number
asked
already.
for 3 for Greg Brooks, which I don't think he's going to give that up and put 18 on. As big of an honor as 18 is, I think that 3's got a little bit of a deeper meaning to it. Got
a Jacoby and Guillory in the chat. I could see it.
Yeah.
Is he's a senior, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's been in the program.
He's kind of stands out on the defense as somebody who could take home 18. Yeah. Very verbal.
And honestly, as a fan of the program, it's kind of cool to see so many guys that could be 18. Mm-hmm. That shows the progress that Brian Kelly has made of growing the leaders on this team. There's a lot of guys that could get that number 18 jersey. I could see Mason Taylor getting it. I could see Major Burns getting it. I could see, like I said, Penn, Guillory, Williams. There's a lot of guys that are Nussmeier, a lot of guys that are leaders on this team that could get 18. I just think when it comes down to what 18 means as a leader, as doing it all the right ways, Josh Williams is the guy. I mean, he is the heart and soul. He always is going to answer the call, probably off the field, but definitely on the field. I think he's the guy. I think he's
you saw him get a lot of burn today. It was kind of like the first time you've seen him get the majority or the lion's share of the reps at running back. Like, it's been John Emery I think it was more of a health-related thing. Like, let's see how much you got in the tank.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, Caleb Jackson was kind of in the mix to get a lot of carries, too, because they're trying to get you ready.
Right.
And then Josh Williams kind of saunters over as the salty vet, and it's like, let me get my job back real quick.
No,
he's going to be the starter week 1.
Yeah, week 1, play 1 on September 1st. 18, 27, whatever he's got on, he's going to be the guy in the backfield next to Garrett Nussmeier. Another question, how do the tight ends look today? They look like the tight ends. I mean, Mason Taylor had a one-handed grab when we first got to practice that had oohs and ahs from the media. And we're not supposed to say anything. We're supposed to just be there filming or writing notes or whatever, keeping our mouths shut. You're not fans of the program, don't get excited. But it was like because, I mean, Harold Perkins was in coverage draped over him. Nussmeier, once again,
Dropping
with a beautiful football. I mean, I think I caught myself 6 or 7 times today watching Nussmeier throw the ball and just being like,
ball. That's a good ball.
Yeah. I mean, that is a good football because it's just, I mean, it's spinning. Rarely does it ever come out wonky out of his hand, and I mean, it's just dropping
that
in.
Follow through.
It is beautiful. But this one was dropped to Mason Taylor, and he pulled it in.
How have we not talked about this play yet? That was like the opening, welcome to practice.
Literally,
I mean, it was.
I think they almost would have rathered that happen before we got let in, between the doors.
It was like one of those, put my right arm here, block the defender, bring it in with the left hand, falling on the pylon.
Right.
I mean, it was. How have we not talked about that
Yeah,
yet?
no, it was a heck of a play, a heck of a catch, a heck of a throw. Mason Taylor is going to have a massive season. He is very much going to be, like we've said throughout leading up to September 1st, he's going to have a huge role because Nussmeier's not Jay Daniels. He's not tucking it and running with it. He is 100% going to have a grown role in this offense. And the guys behind him, Pimpton, who has had an outstanding camp, him and Trey Green, you just look at him, you're like, those guys have to touch the field because they're just going to scare the defense, the opposing. Like, a DB is going to look, or a linebacker is going to look at Trey Green and be like,
I can't cover you.
What am I supposed to do?
Same thing with Pimpton, and you saw Trey get that run early in camp where it was okay. Are they just going to go right over Pimpton? Is he going to take this job? And then Pimpton comes back to back weeks and has probably his best 2 weeks of practice, and it was like, you forgot you're trying to get him on the field last year,
right?
Now you're seeing why he should be vying for tight end reps, and I think it'll look different.
Yeah.
As opposed to it's not going to have two double tight. That's not what it's going to look like. No. They're going to be split out wide. It's be more of like a Jimmy Graham than a hand in the dirt.
You could see 3 tight ends on the field at one time. Like you could see, because they very well will push Trey Green out wide as a wide receiver because he's not, quite as
basketball player.
Yeah, he's not quite as bulky put together. Like he could pass for a wide receiver. He's just really tall.
Oh yeah,
and so he could
looks
get
like
split
an
out
avatar.
wide. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. There's a couple guys on this LSU roster that you're just kind of like,
oh my god,
yeah,
like Dominic McKinley, Deshaun Womack, and Braden Swinson, Trey Green,
Tyree
Adams, and then obviously Will Campbell, Emory Jones. Like this is a pretty impressive looking.
Spears.
Yeah, Deshaun Spears is another one. This is a pretty impressive looking. Yeah. Oh, Jordan Gilbert is
built.
Yeah. Joel Rogers, probably one of the most put together freshmen that have come to LSU in a minute. And then obviously Caleb Jackson, who is a freak of nature. Man. I saw that. I posted that Leonard Fournette video yesterday.
I was wondering how that was going to get to. I wonder how much reaction that was going to get.
I saw it and I was like, I got all kind of fired up.
And we're forgetting the one name that should be at the top of this list. It's Badger.
Oh, yeah. Badger, our guy. The punter, week 1 punter. Shah asked, how did the linebackers look? Who is replacing West until he gets back? Devon Keys was out there today, number 42 from...
He's been getting a lot of run, too.
Yeah, what high school was he from? I looked at it today let me see if I can... Let me pull out the paper here. 42... Devon Keys from Alito High School in Alito, Texas. I guess that's how you say it. He's a freshman, true freshman. Speaking of true freshmen, there's a lot of them that are going to get some run. But the linebacker group, really there's not a lot of question marks around it. Like you've got guys that are going to fill in spots. But your 4 guys in the Weeks brothers and Perk and Penn, LSU's in a good spot there. And I think Blake Baker loves those guys. Like, when he came in and met with Jordy, I mean, he absolutely loves the Weeks brothers. And was pretty confused on why West didn't get more opportunity last year. But the linebacker group is another one of the strong suits of this LSU roster.
Back to the Trey Green point. Trey Green has impressed me a lot because he's put together these good days of camp and stuff, and it'd almost be like, if I was a freshman doing this at camp, I wouldn't be as I'd be trying to do the same thing, but like it's kind of gotten to the point where he wants to play better and play more.
Yeah.
And today he dropped the ball with the defender draped all over him, and he started smacking the ground real hard. Yeah. And it's impressed me because he wants it. You know, he wants to play. It's like oh, I dropped that ball. Now Pimpton's gonna get more reps than me. But I mean, that's impressive though. I want to see that from more guys on the team, and I think we have seen that.
Yeah, no, I mean there is a level of hunger in this with this LSU football team that should be exciting, regardless of what it looks like on the field, especially September 1st. You're going to see a hungry group of LSU football players, and
get my hopes up. I just push this feeling way down.
Yep.
And then
let it out.
Sunday it will be out, and then we'll decide.
Yeah, Sunday morning.
How tall of a building can I find, or let's enjoy the view.
Yeah.
Sunday night for me, I got to watch the Saints game.
Oh, nobody gives a shit.
All right, well, Mandeville boy here.
So you're going to watch the Saints game over LSU's season
No.
opener?
No. I'm going to watch both. Well, they don't play on the same day. They don't play on the same day.
I thought
They
you
play
said
the next
Sunday.
week. Wait, what?
I thought you said they play. Yeah, they're not going to play on the same.
No,
Sunday.
I'm saying
But it sounds like
when
you
other
would.
weeks come, like when they.
Yeah,
this is LSU, dude. The NFL will be there.
Do you want this job?
Yeah,
Christian?
Jesus.
We are a part of NOF Network.
Yeah.
Don't make me call
We're
Nick.
the LSU section.
Yeah. This is where we're staying in our lane.
We're just messing. But yeah, no, it is. It's been difficult as trying to be a grown-up adult media member and not just an all-out LSU football fan at practice on this show, on the show in the morning. I'm having to just keep the fanatic side bundled up in this little ball inside.
I almost showed up with my jersey on today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Don't forget your press pass. No, I mean, I think people know that there's a reason that we cover LSU or pick this to do it. It's because we like LSU.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, man, I got a job. Who am I covering?
No.
I know that's how it happens in other sects of the world where
Not
it's
here.
like, I work for 247. They're sending me to Baton Rouge.
Not around here.
I'm not leaving.
Not around here.
No, it's to go Tigers.
Yeah.
But
no.
we try to keep it as ejections as possible. But
Right.
see me on Saturday.
Yeah. No.
That's not hard to hide.
It's
Ain't hard to find.
no. I'm right here.
Right here.
I'm right here. Section 207, Tiger Stadium.
Section 315.
But no, yeah, 100%. There is a level of excitement, and it very well could get sniped on Sunday, September 1st, because I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in Allegiant Stadium watching that football game, and
I hate not going.
I just don't want to get heartbroken.
Yeah,
I really don't.
It's nervous.
There is a level of nerves. As much as I'm excited.
Well, because you can't. We could go to practice all we want.
Right.
You won't know fuck all until Sunday.
No, you won't know anything. You don't. All of this, like that's the part. That's what I had to learn because I remember my first fall camp, 2021,
Oh yeah.
and leading up to the UCLA game, I'm like, Jake Peets is a guy. Like we've got an OC. We are ready to go.
It's from the NFL.
And I'm like, this offense looks great. Max Johnson is the quarterback of the future.
You got to stop one guy on UCLA.
Yeah, and
The tight end. Turns out they didn't want to do that at all.
No.
And it just went from such a high of highs where you're like, okay, football season's here. And that's what makes the first game so entertaining and so
Right.
much fun because the build up to it. But it also could potentially almost derail your season
ruin
because
your life.
yeah, that's true. When you look at what this matchup is, LSU's favored by 5.5, and obviously the total is where it is. But LSU's won, 12, 13? USC's barely clinging on to a top 25 spot.
Right,
Like, you
right.
should be favored in this game, and you should expect to win. But it just feels...
And the line's moving.
Yeah.
Why are they doing that?
Because everybody in Louisiana just went
Yeah.
to the gambling app and
Yeah.
said, oh, LSU football?
Yeah.
I'm a bet. You could put it at any number, and somebody's going to bet on it.
Yeah, somebody. Yeah, it's very true. Very true. No, that's in that 2021 season. After watching that UCLA game, that's when I was like, practice tells me nothing.
Right.
Like I'm there to see who's hurt and who's playing. That's it. And obviously we learn some things from practice.
Well,
but
yeah, this is when you learn things because you've been to multiple, and now
Right.
you see the changing of, okay, this is what it looks
Yeah.
like with a different staff, and
Right.
I don't think it's a strong, like, bridge to build to be able to say this looks different than it did last year.
100%.
Like certainly defensively.
And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, everybody that's been to camp has said the same thing where it's like, oh, we wanted to say that, oh, it's Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels and Brian Thomas. They're so good. They should be cooking the defense. It's like, it shouldn't be this bad. And
Right.
it turns out that it was real bad. And
Real
now you're
bad.
starting to see the LSU defense get some wins at some of these practices where it looks, and Brian Kelly talked about it today, there's not a lot of this.
Yeah.
Like, not a lot of busts. There's not a lot of, we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's very much organized from the top down, and that makes you feel better to at least put a
100%.
product on the field that doesn't look like they haven't practiced yet.
100%. No, I agree. It's exciting leading up to September 1st, and football season as a whole is exciting. I see you guys in the chat talking about how you enjoy this, and we appreciate that. We appreciate y'all tuning in, and we're actually working on getting y'all some more content throughout football season. Obviously, the 7 to 9 show or 6:30 to 8:30 or whatever the show ends up being is going to continue. But we appreciate you guys being here with us, and we're gonna keep trying to churn out some content for y'all. Whether it's post game shows, watch parties, practice reports. Getting in here when news breaks and discussing it for 20-30 minutes. We're gonna work on getting some more content for you guys. And we
don't undersell
y'all.
it. We've got we got some plans in the works. This thing might take a little bit more of a spin to Crazy Town now that we've been unencumbered. Jordy just has turned over the channel to the boys. So we're going to see how far we can take this thing.
No, the 30-30-30 guys we're working. We're behind the scenes. We're getting some
30,
stuff
30,
going
30,
for you guys.
365.
Come on.
But
we're getting some stuff working for you guys.
Yeah, I think it's fair to we can go ahead and say it, like we're going to do most likely some post-game shows after every game, and most definitely watch parties for all the away games.
100%.
So that'll be at least 2 more slices of content you'll be able to get. And now with football season starting, there's going to be some type of news, some type of breaking news that happens, and we will rush over here to get you some live content and get our reaction, break news, do whatever we can to keep you all informed.
No, 100%. Yeah, and we've got some blogs coming out to you guys as well. That's another piece of content that we're adding to the list. Because not every time can we get straight here to the studio. Or whatever. If you can't tune in, you can always obviously go back and watch it, but you can also get a nice read up. Christian's been working on some blog stuff. I will as well. We'll see if we can get Lloyd to start typing up some stuff again.
Don't let me dust off these old knuckles.
We'll see.
I used to do it.
I know it.
I used to do it.
I know it. I don't want you to put Christian to shame though with that.
AI,
first blog
can you
put.
type me up a post game?
Chat GPT
You
over
can't
there.
chat GPT this brain.
That is very much true.
There's never a teacher that said you didn't write this. Like, stop writing like this.
Yeah. Maybe don't write.
Maybe do use Chat GPT.
Yeah. Pass on the next essay, please, Mr. Courtney.
I'm not done.
I'm still writing. But yeah, we're gonna we're working on getting some more content out for you guys, trying to keep y'all entertained because we love this. We love y'all. This has been fun. I think we've got one more practice report left on Saturday after the Tiger Stadium viewing. There will be no video. I won't have the camera, but we'll be there. We're gonna be watching it.
We get a good view.
We get a good view, and we're gonna try to come back to the studio and get y'all a recap then.
Did he put the kibosh on cameras for Saturday?
Yes.
No, so media can still go, but
Yes, we're just watching, taking notes.
Okay.
So we'll be there. We'll take notes, and the plan is to come back here and
Been in the lab with the pen and a pad.
and break it
the damn
down for you
label on?
guys. So that'll be the last practice report we do on Saturday. I have very much enjoyed doing these with you guys and for all the viewers out there watching. We're going to keep bringing out some content, but make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. I think 7 to 9.
7 to 9.
7 to 9. And if it, hopefully I'll be back in this chair at 8:30 when Jordy dips out, and we do a little bit more of that 30-30-30 crew
30.
content. Last 30 seconds of a game, up 30, down 30. That's the only time you're seeing these guys. But yeah, so we'll see y'all tomorrow morning and the next practice report on Saturday. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and you'll hear from us soon. Later.
Goodbye.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Leave your middle name in the comments, and Your favorite color?
Leave your
Put your license
zodiac
plate as well,
sign.
please.
Wow.
Let's see if we can get some. Somebody wants to get hired in here. I'm telling you, you can come work.
Yeah, you know what? Leave your resume in the comments.
Yeah.
Comment your resume.
150 characters or less.
We'll give that a look. Yep.
Seriously.
We'll give it a look, guys. I promise.
We do need help.
Yeah, we need bodies. We need bodies.
We need bodies.
Depth. We need depth. LSU
Ain't no
football.
limit to the 30-30-30
Oh,
club.
one more question. Score prediction. Lloyd, let me hear it. Hit me.
Score prediction.
Hit me. September 1st.
35-31.
35-31. Christian?
Let me pull up my Twitter because I tweeted this out, my score prediction, a couple weeks
Okay.
ago.
Look who's prepared. Also, while Christian's looking at me and Christian.
51-28 Tigers.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Give me them.
Turn it on.
Bet on it then.
51.
I bet the under.
Oh, you just lost.
Yeah, my word. You bet the under.
I got to
LSU
bet
scored
against
51.
myself because I don't trust myself. But that is my prediction, 51-28.
But me and
LSU.
Christian also have a bet
We do.
on the first completion of the season. Christian thinks a Kyron Lacey curl inside 10 yards.
That would
And
be
I've
so
got a
pussy.
swing. I've got a swing pass to Josh Williams.
I can see that.
I said inside 15 yards to be specific, but
go.
that's okay.
And it's going to be one of these. RPO, probably Mason
You
Taylor.
think?
a
Okay,
little
maybe.
we're gonna mark Lloyd down as well. Now the pot's $30. Lloyd's in it. We've got a $30 pot,
We had a
$10
couple.
from each of us.
We had a couple media guys say Mason Taylor too. So
So Lloyd's got a Mason Taylor little RPO.
You know what? Scratch that. Give me Trey Bradford out the backfield.
I definitely would have lost the bet last
No
year.
shit.
100% would have lost the bet last year. That play was awesome.
John Dr.
Seems like that's the only one that they wrote down.
Yeah, I think that was the end of the scripting. But that's the bet. We've got $30 on it. And I guess if it doesn't end up being any of those, that $30 will go to the LSU NIL fund. We'll donate it there.
QR
Obviously.
code on the helmets.
QR code on the helmets.
Or it'll make Christian piss his pants.
Piss dog. But
Piss dog.
And so if we donate that $30 to the Bayou Traditions, the next commit LSU gets is solely because of the $30 we put in the pot.
From the 30-30-30 club.
From the 30-30-30
LLC.
club. But yeah.
Tax write-off.
So Savion Green, his guess is 28-24
I like it.
prediction. That is tight. I am going to go 30. Give me 34.
I was trying to take field goals out the equation because I'm not very sold on
Let me write this down for you so you don't forget.
I'm going to go 34.
missed extra point.
No. That is good, though. 34 points. LSU has 34. And give me 30
Okay.
for USC. Pretty similar to what Lloyd said. but
USC covers.
Yeah, LSU wins.
LSU wins.
If it's that, I mean, I would love a Christian score or at least something in that ballpark, something maybe a little bit more realistic. Like 35-21 would be excellent to
would
be
be
able
nice.
to get out of there and feel like you finally
like
got
a-
back to LSU football and
Right.
like
Or
on
like
the
the-
national stage and you could breathe.
Oh, finally.
But I would
can't
rather
wait.
it be nut cutting time and let's take me down to Paradise City
Yeah,
and
no,
see if it shave 5 more years off.
that would
this
be
life.
nice. That would be nice. But because another score that I would like to see is like the Ole Miss game from 22, where it was 45-20. I think was the final. That would be a pretty nice.
And that was
score.
close up until it just wasn't.
Yeah, I think LSU went on a
I think it scored 21 straight
40,
points.
42-3 run in that game. But yeah, no, it's going to be exciting. I think you're going to see a lot of points scored in that football game.
Don't get it twisted. Like Lincoln Riley's offense still plays.
Yeah,
And LSU's defense is not.
regardless of the improvements on the defensive side.
It's not the 85 Bears.
Lincoln Riley's Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
And he's going to score touchdowns.
Can't cook brisket.
Nope. Oh, my gosh.
Can cook a
Oh,
defense.
I forgot about the brisket.
that guy's struggling with
I'm gonna
life.
I
everything
actually,
outside of football.
I'm going to save that picture right now for September 1st because that's going to come in handy. So when you guys see that, you're going to know exactly where the idea came from.
the 30-30-30 club.
From the 30-30-30
Trails.
club.
30 boys.
Because that brisket, my word.
Yeah, he had the opportunity to not post it.
Yeah,
like,
he shouldn't
you
have
already
posted
cooked it, and you cooked it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, dude, this looks good. Like, no, buddy, that's not what food. And you're in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Go buy one.
somebody you could get one for free. You're the head coach at Oklahoma. Get a free brisket
Go
that's
get-
actually cooked well.
No, he
Not-
put his skills to the test and
Yeah,
failed. So
yeah.
hopefully we get that version of
Let
Lincoln
Riley
Let
cook.
Lincoln cook.
Let Lincoln cook. But yeah, all right. Well, guys, we'll see y'all 7 a.m. tomorrow. Obviously, like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned to the Jordy Culotta Show channel. I'm telling y'all, we've got content coming out. I get videos out regularly on this channel. We don't just go live on NOF. You know, content's gonna live on this channel as well. So make sure y'all are tuned in. Hit that bell.
Yeah, go ahead. Certainly hit the bell, because we will be going live from this channel a good bit more with football season. Yeah. So go ahead, like, subscribe, hit the bell.
Hit the bell. Stay tuned on social. We'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Thank y'all for coming and watching.
Pair of sand.
Hey, Kilo, got my headphones up, bro. You right there. Big step, but we can never put on the same shoes. I've been giving L's like I know love and I can't lose. For myself, man, I can't lose. For my family, man, I can't lose. I grind hard and I can't lose. I'm stacking days, man, I can't lose. Big step, but we can never put on the same shoes. I've been giving L's like I know love and I can't lose. For myself, man, I can't lose. For my family, man, I can't lose. I grind hard, man, I can't lose. I'm stacking days, man, I can't lose. Business is business, yeah. I grind for the check. Line up with me, you gon' see how different when I step up on the opponent's necks. Line up with me, you gon' see how different how I'm earning all of my respect. Line up with me, you gon' see how different how I run the game, but don't stretch. My hitters stay with me. Give them nothing, we putting up 60. We got power, you better call 50. Better chill like I reached like Wimby. It's not rocket science, shit you gotta know. We put them down like some dominoes. Working further, put the time in. Now I'm watching a lot of shows. Trying to send help when I come around, dog, it ain't working. Trying to just play, trying to stop me, dog, it ain't working. I handle business while your lanes chirping. Who on my level, man, I'm still searching. I'm in their heads like a neurosurgeon. I'm everywhere like I'm Harold Perkins. Let's big step, but we can never put on the same shoes. I've been giving L's like I know love and I can't lose. For myself, man, I can't lose. For my family, man, I can't lose. I grind hard and I can't lose. I'm stacking days, man, I can't lose. Big step, but we can never put on the same shoes.